Hello, and welcome to the Queer Vision podcast. Today, Koee and I are sitting down with our co-host, Megan. We are actually interviewing her. We realized we had never done that before, and it was so nice to sit down and interview a friend. She has been part of the team since the beginning, since December of last year, and she sat down to talk to us a little bit about her experience as an adoptee, figuring out what heritage she feels like she fits with, and her identity. We also, of course, sat and chatted about absolutely everything else. So please stay tuned, enjoy, and let us know what you think at the end. Have a good day.
Today we have Megalinda. I'm
Take that face off right now.
Megaffer, if you will. Megan Fisher. How the hell are you, girl? We're so glad to have you on the podcast. I have done too much logistical work today, and my brain feels like goo. So this is how I'm going to be the whole time.
Megan is an amazing member of our team. You probably know her from every single other podcast episode that we've ever done. So
I wasn't invited to the House of Hugh. I'm just kidding. I was invited. I just couldn't go for some reason.
Yeah. So you've heard her voice before, but now you get to know who she is. Yeah. Hi, Megan. Tell us about...
What? Sadly.
There was something I really wanted to say, but no.
Tell us about you, sadly.
The time has passed. Well, let me just sum it up for you. No. I was going to give your tragic life story.
Oh, wait. No, that would be way funnier. Give it to
That's actually not. That's not what I was going to do. That's not what I was going to do. You go ahead. Take the reins.
Okay. Well, of the Queer Vision pod, we have Koee of Connectalon. One could call them a pillar in the drag community. We have Rebecca. One could call Rebecca a peak of millennial humor and millennial excellence. Peak millennial excellence. And Megan is...
Third person?
Huh? Yeah, Megan in the third person, yes, is very cool, very amazing cook, animal lover, gay, Asian woman. Appalachian as well. Throw that in there, because people can hear my voice.
Asterisk?
Like a woman with like an asterisk beside it that says some long paragraph about how gender isn't real.
Yeah. Put an asterisk by woman and actually say, yeah, because it's not a non-binary thing. It's I don't believe in gender. And that's my hottest take.
That's valid.
Wait, there was something I was going to say. Wait, is it going? It's gone.
Oh my God.
How does one define themselves, truly?
I mean, you've listened to every single other person on this podcast that has
struggled to define themselves as well.
Wait, this is important. I have to derail the conversation because, if you don't make your own podcast and you don't call it Megan in the third person,
I don't think that's as hot of a take as
think that's like
I don't think that's as great of an idea as you.
I think Megan, you're just a little high.
I need Arden to zoom. I need Arden to edit this like a YouTube video.
That's what's going on YouTube.
I need this to be like a dun dun dun, like hit the shade button.
Like the millennial edits on YouTube.
And you say I'm the millennial.
No, like the Gen Z edits on YouTube. What are you talking about?
They're the same.
They are the same. If you were watching peak 2011 YouTube, those people that were on peak 2011 YouTube, newsflash, buddy, they're millennials.
Charlie bit my finger.
Yeah. But you weren't editing YouTube videos. The millennials were editing the YouTube videos in 2011.
Or Gen X.
Okay, well, I really did actually derail the conversation. Okay.
You sure did. Okay, so Megan, the reason we're interviewing you is because you wanted to write an article about your struggles with defining yourself as an Asian American woman, which you did. And
you can read about it in the Queer Vision magazine.
The May issue.
The May issue being published the third Monday in May.
Correct. And it's called Who Am I? The article, not the issue. Anyway.
But the issue is, who am I?
But the issue is, who am I?
That part.
And that's the reason that we wanted to interview you.
And you decided to start with that question, who are you? I don't know.
Exactly.
Who am I?
So then tell us.
You don't know, so tell us.
Tell us the conversation.
A queer, Asian, Appalachian woman asterisk. But we'll essentially just sum up the essay that I wrote about myself quickly. Asian? I don't know about all that. I don't know. Physically, definitely Asian. Physically, experienced racism based on how people perceive me. But, am I Asian? Culturally? That's where the Appalachian comes in. Mama loves a biscuit. and some gravy. Some sausage gravy. This is like slightly different than what I said in the written one. I wrote cheeseburger, but you know, I also eat a lot of cheeseburgers. So it's both.
So
Okay.
it's just pals. Did you ever have pals?
Bitch, I love pals.
Okay, I thought you did have
We've
pals.
talked about pals,
Yeah.
certainly.
Fuck.
Do you know what
Okay,
pals
derailed
is,
again.
Rebecca?
No.
No, this is important from
Yeah.
our lore.
Some of these
Pal,
people will know what pals is.
yeah, pal, especially because it's Queerolina, which is like regional magazine situation. Like Pals is a burger joint where the building is shaped like a burger.
And the first one started in my hometown.
Oh, that's so cute.
And not a flex, not a flex.
No,
And
that's the only flex that
that's
Kingsport
the only
has,
flex
actually.
Kingsport has. Yeah. And it's local only to Northeast Tennessee and like Western North Carolina and a little bit of Virginia where it touches just only the areas that touch Northeast
I
Tennessee.
don't even know if there is one in Western North Carolina, but it was only 30 minutes from where I grew up in Western North Carolina. So if you wanted a good burger, you could go to like Main Street Grill in Weaverville and pay like $15 for a good burger, which we never did. We drove 30 minutes to Pal's and paid $8 for a great burger, you know?
And another fun fact is it's rumored that the Pals guy had his own sex dungeon that he threw orgies in. And of course, like every creepy old Appalachian or country man who has money, some white man, had a bunch of fucking barely legal girls there.
Now you've derailed the conversation.
So this kind of reminds me of in Ohio, there is a building that looks like a Longaberger Basket. It was the headquarters for Longaberger Basket.
What the hell is Longaberger?
What's a Longaberger basket?
You know those woven baskets that you can get?
Mhm.
There's a specific brand called Longaberger, and it was like a collection thing. Like they would like release certain ones.
Baskets?
Yeah, like baskets.
To hold your burgers?
No, Longaberger is just the name.
There's
It has
no
nothing to do
burgers
with burger, but it does have to do with the building, which is why I thought of it.
I do think there is a Central Carolina chain very similar to Pal's where the building is shaped like a burger and fries and stuff as well. But in my opinion, that's a ripoff of Pal's. I don't know which one actually came first, but in my mind, it's a ripoff of Pal's.
I need
And this is
also-
about me, and it's May, so I'm right about these burger joints.
We
Yeah.
agree.
I
Yeah.
need to stop thinking about I'm doing things and thinking it would be funny if it was edited this way. I need to stop. Arden,
If you decide you want to edit it,
I
then
know.
you can edit it that way.
I was just thinking.
Well, like, this is why some people in, like, reality TV come off as inauthentic. Because, like, people, like, had this critique about, like, Jill Sparkles in the most recent season of Drag Race. Because they were saying it seemed like she was self-producing as she was talking. And they were like, that seems, like, annoying and inauthentic.
Is that kind of similar to masking?
I would say it is like some sort of level of like invulnerability to just like, because a lot of the things that she would say were just very like diva boots down, you know what I mean? Just like very fast, like girly pop, but like AAVE terms, but then like said it very girly pop, very like, I'm just serving diva house boots. I'm eating, 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 piggy, piggy, piggy. And it was just like, shut the fuck up. I like Jill Sparkles personally. Me and Michaela like Jill Sparkles. No shade on Jill Sparkles. No shade. But this was a critique that I heard from people that I know that will not be named.
Why in my head did I get Jill Sparkles and Sam Star confused?
Because they both talk like that a little bit. Sam Star talks like real Southern, and she says like, she talks like this, and she says, I'm going to be America's next drag superstar.
Spoken just like.
Oh, but they are both related to Trinity the Tuck. They're both drag Nepo babies. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, now we've derailed.
So going back,
That
why
was just from me being Asian. So next, American. Obviously, I'm Asian. Yes. American. Love a cheeseburger. Love a biscuit. Appalachian. Yes. Woman. I'll say it like this. This is how I'll explain gender. Gender is the ocean. For a long time, we had two glasses. Some cultures had 3 glasses, 4 glasses. Either way, we were in glasses. You can't put the ocean in glasses, like water glasses.
Yes.
Not like
glasses.
I mean, you can't put the ocean in either of them.
yeah, you can't put the ocean in eyeglasses either, but that makes less sense.
So why do you feel disconnected from your Asian culture? Because I feel like you kind of like glossed over that a little bit. And anybody that reads the article will know, but you need to tell the
Okay, so I think this is like a common struggle. Actually, I mentioned this a little bit in our interview with Poison, so go back and listen to our interview with Poison because Poison was talking about feeling disconnected from like Latin America or Central American culture or Mexico, I want to say. Yeah. but like indigenous Mexico. But she said she felt like very disconnected from it because she was like kind of like ripped from it a little bit, and then ripped from like the West Coast to the East Coast, so then even more ripped from like more culture. And I mentioned that I was adopted, and she said like in that interview, like, so you probably also don't feel connected to being Asian. And I was like, Diva, no, who's Asian? Where? Because
These
like I don't speak Mandarin, so I can't. It's difficult to connect with people who actually are Chinese. When I meet people who are Chinese and I talk to them, they're like, "Wow, your English is great," and then I'm like, "Well, let's talk in Chinese," and they're like, "Oh, you're an idiot." You know what I mean? It's. I think it's hard to explain this to people because when white people learn Chinese, learn Mandarin, and go to China, and they learn like kindergarten level Mandarin, everybody's like, "Wow, you're doing so amazing! Wow, I can't believe you learned Chinese. You're so good." If I went to China with my kindergarten level Mandarin, they would go, "What is wrong with this girl?"
So even though you're in the same situation as any number of those white people who are going over there, you are held to a higher standard
Yeah,
because
because they look at me and they see an Asian person, and then I talk like a kindergartner, and they're like, "What is wrong with? Why is she?" But this actually happened to my sister. My sister studied abroad in China. She minored in Chinese, and she studied abroad over there for like a year or like 6 months or something. And while she was over there, all of her like non-Asian classmates were praised constantly for their Chinese speaking, and she was made fun of. Like, it's a little funny when you think about it, because like you are thinking, what is wrong with this girl? Like they probably were just being like, maybe she's special, which is like offensive, but like you know what I mean? Like that's how like Americans treat like white people who don't speak English well. We're like, what the fuck? Like you meet a white person and then they don't speak English well, you're like a little confused, and they're like, oh, they're Eastern European, you know. But either way, people in America treat non-English speakers really terribly, and it's just the reverse. Like Chinese speakers are looking at a Chinese person who doesn't speak Chinese well, and they're like, "What an idiot," you know. Even though that person is trying to speak two languages, someone who speaks two languages is literally smarter than you. I mean, right now, like I'm annoying the hell out of Michaela because I've been working a lot of like prep shifts at work. So I work with like all Spanish speakers, but I love to yap. So you're not going to hold me back from an opportunity to yap. And if I have to yap in Spanish, I will learn Spanish in order to yap. But I'm annoying the hell out of Michaela because I'm like pointing at every single thing in our house and learning the Spanish word for it, and it's driving her crazy. But like you learn when like I started like talking in Spanish at work, and a lot of people were like, oh, "There's all these people that we work with that I never talk to because after we say ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien, y
They
tú?"
don't try.
That's it. That's gone. The conversation is over. So they know nothing about all of these people that we work with. Even though when you work with someone every single day, like you're gonna learn a little bit about these people. Not if you only say, "How are you? Good, bye," and that's it. I'm too much of a yapper. There's too many people that have too many interesting stories, and language should not be the limitation of learning people's stories. Also, if you try to talk to any of the people like in my kitchen that speak Spanish, they have their Google Translate app out in seconds. So you're what? You're just too lazy to use the Google Translate app?
I mean I think that's something that I've been struggling to with like with a lot of people is the lack of like
Effort.
what do you call it? Passion and willingness to communicate. Like I feel like people are just stuck in their own little world so often. And like it's easy to do, don't get me wrong. Like I know that there's days that I just like ghost through and I just completely realize like, oh, I didn't pay attention to any of the people that were around me. Like I didn't try and get to know anybody. And I understand there are days like that. But like when you're around some people all the time and you don't acknowledge that they are also human beings with their own lives going through just as much, if not more than you, like that's a little weird and like entitled.
And it was
Entitled is definitely the word.
I think it comes from one of two places. I think it can come from a really entitled place of privilege. I think it can also come from a place of anxiety, and it's perceived very wrong when some people, I think, get too in their own head about their own shit. I'm
Yeah.
speaking from personal experience. I'm talking about myself. I feel like I've at times not been as interested or as like curious about other people's lives because I've been too in my own head about how I'm being perceived by said person or how I would be perceived by said person if I asked a question about their life
Yeah.
because I often
I
feel like
yeah.
it's too intrusive or
I
something.
think there's like insecurities and you like differences and insecurity get in the way, but that's usually like if you're being like shy in a room, you're more shy with
Yeah.
everybody. I'm saying there's like very extroverted people who get to
Oh,
know
yeah.
every single person in the room aside from the non-English speakers.
Oh no, yeah, I agree,
Which
100.
just tells me you're just too lazy to use Google Translate. I understand not learning an entire new language, but like
Yeah.
being too lazy to use Translate.
Like there's body language.
Yeah.
There's so many people like I've had before Google Translate was really as readily available as it is now. Like there's many times where like we've come across people that don't speak the same language, and it's difficult to communicate. But like you can still point at things. Like maybe you won't know as much about them, but like they can still show you pictures of their family. Like you can still like communicate
Yeah, absolutely.
a little bit. Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
you could like point at a picture of your family and you could just be like big, little. You know what I mean? And like that's my older brother, that's my little sister. Like
Yeah.
even if you're not, yeah, pre Google Translate. Now Google Translate, like there really is no excuse at all to not try to communicate with people. And like I said, I work in a kitchen, which like a primary aspect of working in a kitchen is just communication. There's a reason that everybody's so addicted to the bear and like the herd and the yes chef and all of that stuff. Just learning like a couple of words in Spanish or whatever language it is, like if I worked in a Chinese kitchen, like just a few words to just be able to communicate, like, hey, I need more oil, I need more fries, I need more this or that or the other, please, is so, like it's not a hard thing to do, and I think there is like quite a bit of a resistance in that, which is like why there's a resistance just in like cultural barriers in general. And it's weird to be an Asian American woman. And also, people are looking at me extra crazy now because I'm learning Spanish in my kitchen. And they're like, "Do you even speak Chinese?" And I'm like, "I'm working on that too." And they're like, "Not you speaking Spanish better than you speak Chinese," which is crazy. And I'm also worrying that it is harder to read characters, but
I thought Mandarin was more difficult than Spanish anyway, because Spanish is like similar background as what
it
English is.
kind of, but me and Michaela were actually doing our like verb conjugation today. Like we were writing out verb conjugation in Spanish and Chinese, and I was like, this is how much easier Chinese is. The verb stays the same.
It's the same way with like Japanese.
Yeah, like
The
it's
way
not
it's
like
structured is
it's
simpler.
not quiero versus quieres versus like it's not that. It's if you want to say want, you say want. You don't say, like you don't have a million different ways to say the verb, which makes it easier that way. To write it is a lot harder, and to read it in characters is a lot harder, but to speak it is not as hard. There are so many different ways you can mess up Spanish with like the gendered words and the verb conjugation, and I've already messed it up and butchered it 1,000 times. But what I've noticed is that the Spanish speakers in my kitchen are not offended. It does look a little weird when I'm constantly just being like, "Como se dice this? Como se dice that?" And like some people are like, "Damn, you're annoying." I think you're just annoying these people. But at the same time, all of them are really nice and very helpful. And most of them are like, they'll come up to me and they'll be like, "Hey, this is how you say this, and this is a new word." And like they're all trying to like help me learn because they know I love to yap and they know that I will yap as soon as I can speak Spanish.
They're like, we can't wait to be annoyed by her when she says like words that actually make sense.
Yeah, pretty much.
There is faith in humanity.
Well, I think like that's another thing that we've talked about too is just like white people sometimes get the most offended out of anybody else. And it's like,
Because they have the most privilege and time to.
yeah, and it's like y'all
The
need
ones
to
that
chill. Like nobody has the privilege or time to get offended the way that white people get offended. White people are the snowflakes. Oh my god, conservative white people are the snowflakes. Now we're having hot takes.
No.
But like they are the ones to get the most offended because they have the most privilege and time. Absolutely. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, what was I saying?
And you were talking about how when you're, I almost said when you were in China. You've never been to China, right?
No, just born there. That's another thing, but it's like I don't want to go unless I can speak like really fluently, but I know that even when I can speak really fluently, I'm still going to get made fun of because I'm going to have an accent. Even if I was speaking perfect fluent Chinese, I'm going to have this Appalachian accent on top of Chinese and they're going to be like, "She sounds funny." At the nicest, they're going to say she sounds funny.
You shouldn't let that hold you back though from like exploring your culture if you want to. Like the culture that you missed out on, right? Like
I agree. I agree.
I
I'm still
understand.
trying to learn it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand the anxiety of it, but like it's gonna take you a while to get to the point where you're fluent. And like if you get the opportunity to go and just like explore and see it, like yeah, you might get some weird looks at first, but like at the same time, you get to experience.
Yeah, I think it's the same way. Like, I've been to France and I don't speak French. And I got made fun of in a Vietnamese restaurant in France because they actually had, like, the menu in, like, Mandarin, Vietnamese, and French. I didn't speak any of those.
Do you ever feel like that pressure from just society as a whole, like to embrace that part of your culture?
Yeah, I think there's, like, movements in cultural pride that like happen all over the world just for like different reasons like and what's funny is like the most cultural pride I feel is in being Appalachian and like the people that I like care about and worry about and defend the most are Appalachian people. I mean, specifically with this past year Helene happening, and just kind of like the Appalachian people being completely like abandoned with dead people and infrastructure problems and mudslides and all of that. That's like where I feel the most cultural pride, but I still feel like a pressure to have some sort of Asian pride. But then I also feel like an annoyance when there's like white people who try to have more Asian pride than me.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at Koee like that?
Yeah, the head should be rotating this way.
Wait a second. I don't think either of you are actual weebs.
Yeah. I didn't really know what you meant by that. In my head, I was just envisioning a white warrior.
In my head,
Well, you've got those people that are like, stop Asian hate!
Yeah.
You know, but then they make fun of their nail salon techs. Stop Asian hate! As they make fun of their nail salon techs. But you've got those people. Then you also just have people who are like so obsessed with Japan or Korea to an extent that they annoy a random Chinese American girl about it.
I can say I've never done that.
That's why we're friends. I'm not friends with people who actually do that to me, and they do it within the first 5 minutes of meeting me. If you read my essay, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I literally say like before even getting to know me at all, people will be like, what's your favorite anime? And before hey, what's your name? Megan. Nice to meet you. I'm John Doe. Cool. Nice to meet you, John Doe. What do you like? What do you do for work? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm a mechanic. What's your favorite anime? What are we talking about?
actually, this makes me wonder. So, if we look at like stereotypes, like that's obviously clearly like an Asian stereotype, right? That everybody's gonna love anime and speak Mandarin and speak or like whatever.
Which isn't even the same two cultures, which is why.
Yeah, no, and then just like the like all Asia is the same.
Yeah, exactly. Well, except for like they ignored some like Sri Lanka and stuff like that too. Of course, those don't exist. But what is, I wonder, like the American stereotype? Like I've heard a few like tourists always wear like white socks and cargo shorts. Like they have a specific backpack, like things like that. But like I wonder about like if an American would get like adopted by a family in China, what would that American be seen as? Like, well, you have to love this thing, and like, oh my gosh, what's your favorite?
Guns and cheeseburgers.
It's just guns and cheeseburgers, you think?
Well, there was one time that I was like socializing like a lot in London, like at a bar, and I was like socializing with these guys at like a play and then these guys in a bar. And this was like a diverse group of men that we were just like shooting the shit with. But the first, like, hey, what's your name? Megan. What's your name? British name. What do you do for work? That. And then the next question was, do you own a gun? That was the next question. Like, you're obviously from America. Do you own a gun?
That makes sense. I think we're like one of the only countries that everybody can use guns.
Yeah.
No reason.
And like, they hear about our shootings.
I mean, probably more than we do.
I think that we are. I think one of the biggest probably that we look dumb, rightfully so.
Yeah, I had a conversation. I had a conversation on a plane from Paris to Manchester, and this man was like from Liverpool, and he was like, oh yeah, like who are you gonna vote for in the election? And this was pre-Kamala, and I was like, oh dude, I have no idea. I guess Sleepy Joe, but like I don't. I think he's gonna die in office, so it's like hopefully, like this was the conversation. I was like, I think he's gonna die in office because if he takes any more presidential stress, like homeboy is gonna go out. And he was just like, yeah, y'all, this country looks like idiots. He was just like, y'all look like idiots. Both of your candidates are way too old. Donald Trump is an idiot who is going to tank your country, but then I wouldn't trust Joe Biden to walk 3 steps on a straight line.
And that's why Taylor Swift just needs to run. She's somehow listening.
That's an insane thing to say, and I'm a Swiftie.
Here is my theory.
She's too much controversy, and she's a woman.
I don't give two shits. If that bitch ran for president, respectfully, bitch, respectfully.
You think she would be the first woman president? Like, you think she could actually pull the votes?
I think, yes, because I think enough people who, I think enough Gen Z would vote for her. And at this point, listen, at this point, we already have had a celebrity and they were really shitty. And at this point,
more than one
but this is the direction that it's going.
I don't think she could win. I think they would turn on her as a woman when it came to politics. As if she's a vice president and the president dies in office.
Exactly.
I just
Kamala would have had a better chance if Joe got into office and Joe died.
I just think that. I don't know. I just feel like she could pull enough votes. And
Okay, I want to have this conversation as well because this is actually a conversation that me and Michaela just had, and we just had this conversation because we were talking about being raised as Southern Christian, Southern like Baptist or Pentecostal or whatever our denominations were at the time, women, and how we were encouraged to go to college. But Michaela's a musical theater dance major, right? So the older people in her Christian community are not thrilled about her major. They want you to go to college, but there are like 5 acceptable jobs that a Southern woman can do. And it's like teacher, nurse. There are 2 acceptable jobs that a woman can do.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that one?
The Mrs. degree. They go to school to find a husband.
Oh yeah, they go to school, they get a communications degree, and then they graduate with a engagement ring.
Or office secretary. We're getting to 5.
Secretary, secretarial school, vet technician.
Yeah,
That falls under nurse, low key.
but never like a vet, just a vet.
No, vet tech.
Daycare worker. That's not school, but that's not college.
Yeah, a lot of them don't even involve school.
It's all about caretaking because
That's all women.
And you can go to culinary school, but you can't become a line cook.
Correct.
You can go to culinary school and then get married and then become a homemaker.
Yeah, and then have a baked good business.
Oh, you can have a bakery. Yes, you can have a bakery, but you can't have like Hell's Kitchen.
But you can't make meat because if you cook meat, that's a man's job.
That's a man's job. Like if you run a grill, that's a man's job. But you can do an oven.
Yeah, an oven, no grill.
An oven, no grill.
Your little hands.
And that is my argument for why Taylor Swift would not win the presidency.
Okay, that's valid. I just think, yeah, it is crazy how like men just like fuck up everything, and then they just wait and expect women to fix it. I mean, and it just shows in all the jobs that they think is acceptable because.
And it also shows in our society. Did anyone sit there and spell these rules out to you? No. All 3 of us know these rules, but nobody sat there and wrote all this out and spelled it out for us. It's ingrained in the society.
Yeah, because it's shown like what you're going to do. It's by people's faces whenever you say, "Oh, I'm going in to get an engineering degree." They're like, "Oh, you must be really smart then." Like it's like, did you say that to him? Did you say that to him? No.
Yeah.
It's and also like going back to what you said, isn't it funny that men fuck it all up and then they're like, "Oh, the world sucks. Like, why do I have to work so hard? And you could just stay at home and watch the kids." Who made that? Was it us? No.
It's that video of that girl going, and who set that system up?
Fuck you.
Yeah.
But also, even like somebody like whenever you said like, "Oh yeah, all the people turn out," like, or maybe if it's a conservative or whatever, Caroline Levitt, the dumbass woman press secretary person, she's like in their pocket. She is like what the conservatives want a woman to be. They would never ever vote for her because she's too stupid.
We just watched this TV show called Midnight Mass, which was about like a Catholic church on an island that quickly became a cult because the preacher started like preaching really Billy Graham-esque and started putting vampire blood into the communion, and so it was healing people, so they thought he was performing miracles. And he was orchestrating it, but really who was orchestrating it was this crazy woman who would like every time he would accidentally do something kind of immoral, because he really was like a good Catholic man, but every time he would do something immoral, he'd feel bad about it, but then she would justify it with a Bible verse. And it's very much that Caroline Levitt woman, because they're so good at circular reasoning, and they're so good at like talking for so long that they'll change what you said to argue against something that you didn't say, but make it sound like that is what you said. The straw man argument, essentially. And like this character in this television show, it's as if this press secretary was based off of her. We're in a bad timeline. We're in the bad place.
Is that a human or a dog right now?
It's a cat.
Oh.
None of the above. Sorry, I need to stop. This conversation
You okay?
is I don't know if this is like an interview or more a chit chat.
I mean, it is kind of a chit chat, but it's also still getting to know Megan.
Yeah.
And her opinions on stuff, which I feel like we haven't really talked about as much. Like you and I kind of talked about some stuff.
Girl, yeah.
I don't spill my opinions as much because I'm a Libra and I want everybody to think that I'm fair and balanced constantly.
That is the biggest fucking lie I've ever.
It would hurt my perception if people thought that I wasn't fair and balanced.
You have so many fucking opinions. Yeah, that's why you give one about everybody. And now I call it.
That's why my takes are really hot takes, so that people could think that they're satire.
So what is your favorite thing about growing up in America?
I thought I said cheeseburgers.
That's
No,
that's
no, actually, the truth is like the landscape. I like the beach and the mountains.
Do you ever like sit down and think like and I do this and I'm not even like I've never had like anything really big happen. Like I'm not adopted. I haven't had like any huge things happen to me. But like, do you ever like sit down and be like, wow, if this one thing didn't happen, like if you just hadn't been adopted into America, anywhere, if you've been, or even
Yeah,
like not into North Carolina, if you'd been adopted into California, like how different you would be as a person.
yeah, especially when you go on 23andMe to like, well, you go on 23andMe as an adopted person to maybe find siblings or like biological parents, but the chance of finding biological parents is slim to none. Also, don't give your DNA to 23andMe because they're like bankrupt and I don't know what they're doing with everybody's DNA.
Well, too late.
Yeah, been
Got
there,
me,
done
girl.
that.
But you go on there and you see like I have like 10 third cousins on there, and I've talked to a couple of them, and you're like, oh, maybe I could get like a lead on my biological family. Nope, they're all adopted. But there's like one girl, she like lives in LA and she went to UC Berkeley and she goes to the Oscars every year. And there's this other girl that lives in Chicago and she has a fiance, and then like you know what I mean. And then my parents adopted with several people from Western North Carolina, and I'll see like people that were adopted in Western North Carolina. We had a group called the FCC, Families with Chinese Children, and there's this one girl and she got on 23andMe and she met one sister that lives in like Pennsylvania and another sister that lived in like the Midwest. And it's just like it would be odd to see people living an alt you version of yourself. But it really was only one tiny decision, just like where your adoption was assigned,
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy
that
to think.
changed the course of your life.
It is crazy to think about how all little decisions like that. Like, I mean, not
It
getting.
can make me have a panic attack to think about it,
Oh,
actually. Like not in a bad way, like not
you
right
brought it up,
now.
yeah.
I know, but like I
Oh,
mean,
like an existential crisis.
yeah, like if I sit down
Yeah.
and actually think about like, oh, if I didn't do this, then I wouldn't be here, or like if I didn't choose to move to North Carolina, we wouldn't have queer. Like,
Well, if
I
I
mean,
didn't,
believe in like canon
you didn't move
events.
into this house.
yeah, literally.
Do you believe in like canon events or like fixed points in time?
I don't know what I believe. I've watched too
Uh,
much Doctor Who.
that's why I said fixed points in time. Like
I
the
know,
Waters
but
of
like
Mars episode
that's
where he
valid,
tries to change
and nothing will change.
and then she killed herself on Earth or whatever. Like he tried to save her on Mars and he did save her on Mars, but then they went home and killed themselves.
Yeah, that just like the Van Gogh episode, which makes me cry every time.
Yeah. You've
I
not
have
seen who have you?
no. When I have really intense deja vu, that's when I feel like I'm having one of those like destined moments. Does that make sense?
You know that
Like,
sometimes
those
you
moments,
have
like,
deja vu? Now, I don't know that this is true. This could be one of those like myths that went around. You know how sometimes you quote things because you think it's like one of those like science things that everybody knows, but it's actually just a myth? I'm going to quote it regardless of research right now. Some people say that when you're dehydrated, your brain starts lagging, and then that's why you experience deja vu because your brain is behind itself. So it's like remembering something that you just thought, and you think it's deja vu
but
because
then
your
your
brain's
brain's
behind.
lagging because everything is being processed by our ears or our eyes, and then
So
the
it's
receptor
deja vu because you
brain
just experienced it and now you're remembering it, but it feels deja vu because
whenever
your
you're
brain is behind.
but
Okay,
every moment be deja vu because it takes a second for everything to get from here to here,
it depends how
from here to
long.
here.
So I've always heard that deja vu was that like there are parallel universes, right? And like whenever they line up,
Yeah, so that would be the points that happen in every universe, no matter what.
well, not no matter what, it doesn't always happen, right? So like it's just like there are like millions and millions and millions of things that happen based off of like one decision, right? And so like in a parallel universe, if you like pass yourself, or I've heard the ones where like this isn't parallel universes, but this is ghosts. I've heard the ones that like time isn't actually like linear. It's all happening at the same time.
Mhm.
So like if you and somebody that like lived in 1920 are in the same house at the same time doing something,
all
you might
together.
see each
There was
other
a-
as ghosts. Yeah, was there?
There's some movie that takes place in one room in like several different years in the same house.
There was a Doctor Who episode about that.
It's like a newer movie. It was really
There's
boring.
also a TV show called Why Women Kill.
I haven't seen it yet.
I
I
watched
want
some
to.
of that. Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, but like the first season, it's like 3 different decades and it's the same house, but like 3 women kill in that house in 3 different decades.
Have I told y'all my death theory?
No.
I have a theory that we all die of old age indefinitely because we experience every timeline and possibility that we can. So when you have near-death experiences, you actually did die. You just jumped straight to the next timeline where you didn't.
I've heard that one. I like that one. I like that one because like I've had times where like it feels like I've literally almost died. Like,
Have you seen Russian Doll?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. That's kind of like what happens at the end of the first season of Russian Doll.
Yeah.
Low key. But that's just because people are obsessed with people are obsessed with theorizing what happens when you die because none of us know what happens when you die.
right.
And I think that's why it's like, I'm like, whether it's like actually real or not, I'm going to tell myself that because that also makes life feel more enjoyable. Because like, not like I'm going to go run in front of a truck, but it just means like, okay.
So you never actually fully experienced it because you just jumped timelines.
Yeah. So that, in having that delusion makes me not fear death as much.
Yeah. I do get a little anxiety sometimes whenever I think about like dying because I don't want to go through it. Not because I'm scared of dying, but because I don't want to go through the experience. Do you ever like,
That's so weird.
But it's like a flood of DMT. So like I feel like when you die, like your heart shuts down, but then your brains and the neurons keep firing. So like when you're dying, after the pain is done, because your like spine is shut down, right? Your brain's still operating and it's firing DMT and neurons, which is gonna make it like your dreams and your memories combined together. So you're just gonna trip balls until you're gone.
Speaking of that, then
You just go back into the fucking computer. Sorry, anyway.
That's valid. Do you ever like wake up from a dream and like not know if it was real? Like there are times where like I'm literally like I'll wake up, I'll wake up and I'll be like, God, was that like yesterday or did that happen in my dream? Or like I'll be talking to somebody and I'll be like, whenever you said this, and they're like, we never talked about that. I'm like, oh my God, was that a dream? And like it literally like pops up. I'm like, oh, I remember the rest of the dream now. I just thought that part was real. I literally
That's why people also believe that dreams are parallel universes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I woke up literally the other day and Justin had broken up with me in my dream and I legitimately thought it was real. I woke up like and started crying because I thought that we were broken up.
Yeah, I'm like the obnoxious person that when Michaela breaks up with me in my dreams, I like go to her and I'm like, I'm mad at you. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you were mean to me in my dream.
He what?
I don't know. I was like, this may not actually be relevant.
Did you say this might not actually be a real event?
Relevant. But I was thinking about, so if anybody did it now, I don't know if I've actually told Lizzie. I feel like I've told
you. You gotta lean into the mic, Devo.
I don't know if I've told you.
Oh my God.
But I think I've told you, Megan, but I don't know if I've told Rebecca. But I had a brother when I was younger. He passed away at like 2 weeks old from SIDS. But I had this fucking crazy dream when I was really young. Like, you know, those things that you can like remember, but it's weird that you even remember it. And I literally saw the Grim Reaper like walk over and like take him away. Dead ass. I kid you not.
That's dark.
Like, that shit was crazy. Because I remember I could literally see into the room. It was like I was watching. And he went and like grabbed him and just like,
are you a ghost?
Am I a ghost?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if we're gonna have like the death conversation,
I'm that girl.
People want to explain death, right? We've established that. People want to explain death. Second, people have unexplainable stories. Lots of people have unexplainable stories. And at a time in my life where I was kind of obsessed with grief and death, I would ask people about these said stories, and you get a lot of answers. I've heard things like seeing the Grim Reaper in your sleep. I've heard things like dreaming. I had one guidance counselor who her brother died of sudden death syndrome, and she had not her, but her other brother had coffee with him in his dreams. I personally had a dream with a dead person, but it was more like a memory that I was reliving as opposed to like a new fresh conversation that I was having with said person. My sister, right after that person died, claims to have been like laying on the couch, and then she like woke up on the couch, and then he was at the foot of the couch talking to her, and they had a whole conversation. But then she like for real woke up, and she was right where she was. Like it was one of those like I thought I woke up, and then I actually woke up kind of situations. I know another woman who her mother died, and then her daughter gave birth. She had a granddaughter, and her granddaughter was like, oh yeah, like I gotta say goodnight to grandma, or like great grandma. And she was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, oh, great grandma, she comes and visits me at night. And then she'd be like, she always says one of those more interesting ways that someone says I love you, like I love you most or something like that. She'd be like, I love you most. And they hadn't said it to her because they were still grieving that woman, so they hadn't said that to her, but then she started saying it. And then yeah. But yeah, these are like all the stories that I've heard about death. But then like the little girl like just kept like making weird references to her great grandma who she had never met because she was dead before she was born. And then she was like, she visits me at night, and that's like low key kind of creepy. But like low key, do you think like they say that dogs and kids have better intuition because no one's going to believe them. And, dog can't tell you what they're seeing, and a baby, no one's going to believe what a baby is saying anyways. Anyways, the death conversation. People see ghosts. That's all I've got.
When my grandfather died also, when I was younger, I had this one dream where it's so fucking weird. It was literally like everything was like really light. Like you had been in a dark room and then you walked out into the sun, that kind of vibe. And like
Yeah.
your eyes haven't adjusted and you can't really see anything well. And all I saw was like an old diner booth, like a circular old red and white diner booth. There were people sitting there, but I couldn't see their faces. My grandfather walked up and he hugged me and I woke up.
Yeah. And no one can argue with your own experience, and no one can tell you
It's weird.
no one knows what happens when we die, and I don't trust anybody who says that they do or that you're wrong.
Same.
Agreed.
Because they don't know.
Nobody know.
And
Honestly,
that's
and
that.
I know you're not like too much of a reader. Like you read, but you don't like read. But I want you to like you don't read like really big fantasy books, but I want you to read Brandon Sanderson's Oathbringer. Well, you'd have to read the entire Stormlight Archive, honestly.
Oh,
But
I'm not a fantasy reader. I'll read
Yeah.
like one fantasy series every 2 years because it's so many pages to commit to for one single story.
I know, but this is like that one fantasy series that you should read.
The Stormlight Archives.
Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson.
You know Danny Grabby? We can blurt that name out, right?
I think so.
What is this?
Who is this? I don't know what
It's like
that.
a little red spider. Look at the little tiny red spider.
It's not a black spider with a red butt.
The mite
It's
might be a dust mite.
it's got red legs. I killed it.
And you
Or
just,
a chigger.
yeah,
Chiggers are red, right?
yeah.
It was
Do
little.
we have them in Eastern Carolina?
I think we do, but that's not it. It wasn't that. It looked like a little spider, little
It
black
could
spider
be-
with red legs.
You know what it probably was? It was probably the same thing that Carmine.
I can't tell what you're saying anymore because you
No,
moved away from the mic.
it might be a carmine beetle, but they make red makeup out of if it's not cruelty free. You know, red eyeshadow is made out of crushed beetles if it's not vegan, right?
Sure didn't, but also I never wore makeup other than
This is like the snails again.
That's
The snails that they crushed and greased to make the purple dye, and that's the reason royal purple fabric was so rare, and only rich people and kings wore royal purple fabric, because when you crushed the snails, it made very little purple dye. But I think that breed of snail is extinct because of that dye.
I didn't look it up.
It's just like the snail mucin trend.
Snail mucus.
When I worked as a meat cutter in a meat department, we would cut off the trimmings of everything and put it in a bucket, and it got really nasty because we would put it in like a really large trash can, and then it would be like inedible, and then they would take it off, and then they would burn it to death, and then they would call it Talloway, and then they would sell it to makeup companies.
Wasn't there something with whale blubber in lipstick and stuff?
Yeah, they use if you're buying makeup that's non-vegan and it says Talloway on it, they're burning meat scraps.
That's fine.
And I pinky promise
You know
you that it's not all beef.
Like lanolin. Y'all know about lanolin.
Yeah. I'm going to say a hot take. And you can judge me for it.
I think I know what you're going to say.
I don't agree with veganism, and this is why. Here.
I just said my
Yeah.
favorite food is burgers.
Okay, no, but like I understand that I can deal with vegetarians. I can deal with all this stuff. Here's why I don't agree with veganism as like a concept that like if you want to do it for yourself, fine. But I don't think that like vegetarian and vegan would be lucrative or good for the environment because one, we would have an overflow of animals and they would just end up inbreeding and then it wouldn't be good and they would all die out anyway, which isn't necessarily good. Two, I agree with if you kill an animal, you use everything in the animal. So I don't feel like we should have to have like synthetics in makeup if we can access the fat from an animal that we're going to kill. Same thing whenever it comes to leather. I hate that we turned everything into pleather because I'm sitting here like now we're gonna have to replace that pleather every 5 years because it gets all disgusting and it's just going to go to the landfill instead of being like I'm killing this cow because we're going to eat the cow and then we're going to use the bones for this, we're going to use the fats for this, we're going to use the leather for this.
I have to
The
agree.
problem is like
Native culture.
the movement shouldn't be veganism. The movement should be zero waste.
I mean,
Yeah.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Like-
That's I think that's your argument, and I can agree with that argument. Because
Yeah.
first of all, I love a leather bag.
Yes,
A
and it'll
soft
last
leather bag.
literally generations.
My
Like,
leather
I'm
jacket
wearing
is my
grandma's.
mom's.
Yeah, I'm wearing my grandma's purse. She was born
Yeah.
in 1918 or some shit.
Well, that's just capitalism because they just don't believe in making things that last because you've not had to buy a new bag and I've not had to buy a new leather jacket.
Exactly.
Yeah, that part. There's a lot that goes into it.
Fuck consumerism.
I think like non-vegan makeup can be okay in that regard,
If they're not cruel.
but cruelty-free is important.
Cruelty free is sure important. But
Although
counterweight,
although getting into that argument too, there's even other sides to it because being in the makeup industry so long, like there's also the side of like MAC. MAC is one of the most well-known makeup brands, but they're not cruelty-free. The reason they're not cruelty-free is because they're still in China. If they were to pull from China when they work so closely in China, that would never benefit, that would never benefit the makeup industry as a whole. The only way you
if they
make
pulled
change is
from
by being in
China,
it.
where would they move their factories? That's the thing about America. Everybody wants everything
Yeah.
American made, but nobody wants to work an American
Yeah.
factory job.
Well, and
Yeah.
also we'd still have to get the materials somewhere. I feel like all the things that they're talking about where they're like, we're buying like even like cars that are made in America, where do you think those parts are coming from? You think they're making in America?
A lot of times you'll buy something and it'll say assembled in America.
My thought is just that, like, if someone as big as Mac was to pull from China, China would just be like, okay, fuck you, and just keep doing it anyway.
Yeah, and
So,
then we would
like,
all buy the dupes from
yeah,
China.
when you know that Mac already like is actively trying to like change China on that, but it's just something, and I don't know the updated rules. The last time I looked at this was like 2012, so who knows what
Yeah.
I'm speaking on? But all I know is, I mean, it was not 2012, it was like 2020, but
Consumerism and also like here's the thing about like consumerism and like lecturing people about consumerism. I don't go to Target. I don't buy anything from Amazon. I barely buy anything from Walmart unless I really, really have to. You know what I mean? Like, I do buy things from Dollar Tree though because I'm poor and I know that that's not good.
there's no ethical consumption under capitalism.
Yeah. This is like
Yeah,
we're literally in the good place. And by that I mean we're not in the good place.
like the television show The Good Place, where all of the points are useless. But it really is like there's no ethical consumption. To me, there's only reduction in consumption. Just because there's no ethical consumption, that's not me saying like go out and
What?
buy
Say that
Amazon
again.
because you can't buy ethically.
Anyway, you were saying even though you don't believe in ethical consumption, that doesn't mean what?
Oh yeah, just because I don't think that there is any ethical consumption under capitalism doesn't mean I think you should just ramp up your consumption. Like I still think we should do what we can to reduce consumption just because actually for that reason because there is very little if not no ethical consumption, we should all do our best to try to like thrift things, reduce, reuse, recycle, borrow. We should borrow books from people. I know that hurts the booksellers. Don't tell Arden. Well, Arden's going to listen to this. I'm sorry, Arden. But we
Borrowing
should
from
be
the
printing
library.
this many books.
I mean, borrowing from the library, it's free and it helps their numbers, which helps keep libraries alive. And then it still helps the numbers of the authors. So borrow from the library. It's free.
Yeah. And like with books, I mean you should recycle your aluminum cans. Don't ask me about where my aluminum cans go.
Unless okay, here's the other thing too is, and this is the engineering that just came out because I actually did like a report on this, then reduction should be the first one because if you reduce bringing in, then you don't have to worry about the recycling and stuff like that because like if you recycle aluminum cans, then you have to deal with the alum powder and the alum powder is very flammable. So we have to deal with it in a specific way because it's just a big powder. It's just like whenever you have like a big powder puff of flour, it's going to catch on fire and it will explode, right? Like it's things like that where it's like if we are working on recycling and reusing, that doesn't necessarily limit how much trash we have. It just
Yeah.
in a different manner. So like reduction is the best way, and that's why it's like I wish we could go back to like having like the milk come to our doorstep, but then it's like, but we can't do that because we have a weird community now where we'd be afraid of it being poison. Just like
Yeah.
And also, like, the way that, like, does anybody else feel awkward bringing, like, a reusable cup into somewhere? Like, I never don't feel awkward using a reusable cup at, like, a cafe. I
The
don't know.
only thing that I consistently use is a reusable bag because the bags cost money at Wegmans and you can't get bags at Aldi's. And I don't even use reusable bags at Aldi because at Aldi they have a crate of boxes and you can just take a box. And then I can give the box to my cat.
If more places were like, you can't have a bag, people would bring their own bags.
that's fair. You'd say that. However, whenever we were in Chicago and we went out, they make them pay for their bags. Same thing with New York, and people just are like,
Well, yeah, in like a downtown when I'm touring, like when I've been like a tourist in Chicago and they have the plastic bags available, but they do cost money, but I need it because I'm bringing liquor home or to my Airbnb, like I am going to get the plastic bag. But if they don't like Wegmans, the option is a paper bag for 25 cents or you bring your own bag. That is your option.
and it's a paper bag without a handle. And people
A
always
paper
complain
bag without
about
a
that.
handle.
People always complain about that, but it probably is a move to like get you to bring your own fucking bag and stop
Yeah,
creating more waste.
But also,
because it also reduces Wegmans' waste and their cost of.
Paper bag.
they don't rip off. I can never
Well,
do
that.
that.
I think is another thing. You should have
No,
as
the
much.
Trader Joe's bag handles are pretty strong.
They are pretty strong. But how much stuff that's that heavy do you really be getting from Trader Joe's?
No, Trader Joe's is a snack store.
Yeah.
The only meal thing that I'm ever buying from Trader Joe's is their mandarin orange chicken, and that's because I'm too lazy to fry my own mandarin orange chicken.
Honestly, I've had so many gristly pieces in those bowls.
Yeah, and they got really gristly, and I can trim my own chicken thighs and make my own orange chicken.
Anyway, as we've been talking about a bunch of random stuff for almost an hour now, do you want to tell the people your favorite food and
My
your
favorite way to eat a
way to
potato is a baked potato, loaded. I'll accept a twice baked potato. I don't need it though. So much easier to just wrap a potato up and throw it in the oven for 45 minutes. Then I can just set a timer for 45 minutes, watch a television show, finish my dishes, whatever. And when I'm done doing that, I have a potato. And then I just put butter, sour cream, cheese, chives, bacon bits. Sometimes I'll put barbecue. Sometimes I'll put leftover roast. Sometimes I'll put leftover taco meat. Sometimes I'll put leftover chili in it. You can just put your leftovers on top of a baked potato.
That just made me want like a baked potato, but like North Carolina barbecue style.
Yeah, like if you go to Smithfield's, and then you like have leftover barbecue, which I know y'all don't like Smithfield's because y'all like the sweet based barbecue.
No, I love Smith.
I like vinegar.
I like Smith.
I
love
like
that.
vinegar personally.
That's Braden.
It's just Justin that doesn't.
Well, no, Braden doesn't like the vinegar. Braden doesn't.
Braden doesn't like the vinegar. Braden likes the when I made barbecue over here for like one drag race night. Braden used a quarter of my bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's, and I bought it for him. So I'm not complaining. But I was like, damn, he does not like the vinegar base because I cooked it like Smithfield style because that's how Michaela likes it. So I cooked the whole pork butt in vinegar based sauce.
When are you doing this again?
Oh, you want barbecue?
She doesn't cook anymore. She doesn't cook for her friends anymore.
But I'm a new friend, so she'll probably cook for me.
That's true.
I've been cooking a lot recently. We had bangers and mash. I made a whole pot roast.
You don't like me anymore.
When are you at my house?
When are you at my house? I know my cats will kill you, but that's not an excuse. We all have to make sacrifices.
For the audience, my eyes swole to the size of golf balls the last time I was at Koee's house and pet her cat.
It was really bad. Like, I need to like put a photo in the drive so Arden can insert it right here so everybody can see that photo you sent me.
Yeah.
Mid drag competition. And she's like, hey, so I think I'm gonna have to leave. My eyes are swollen shut.
I'm allergic to your cats.
Yeah.
But I have a cat now and I'm not really allergic to her.
It's because we have long hairs.
Yeah, those long hairs are a different breed. Literally.
Literally. Okay, wait, what's your favorite? If you had to have a last meal, what's your favorite meal?
My last meal, last meal, I'm gonna say in this very moment, it's gonna be like a lamb korma.
It does always change for me, anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, because in this moment, I haven't had I dropped something. In this moment, I haven't had Indian food in forever, which is why we should go to that place by the Food Line over here. That was like really cheap for that lunch special one time. We need to go, or the one that's by y'all's house, the tandoori place.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not that anybody asked, but mine today is I know nobody asked, but I'm an Aries, so I don't care. It would be just like some really moist cornbread. And it's so funny because we're having chili and cornbread tonight.
Oh, God, I love chili and cornbread.
I love a good sweet cornbread though. You like a sweet cornbread?
Yeah, like a Texas cornbread almost.
Yeah, I don't like
If I buy like a Jiffy box mix, I put extra sugar in it.
Yeah, we buy the honey Jiffy. There's a honey
Oh,
Jiffy.
or
box.
the honey Jiffy. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you make it with a little oat milk, I know, really gay of me, but it's even more moist.
If you ever go to Asheville for the people, there's a place called the Wicked Weed Funkatorium, which is not Wicked Weed Brewing. It's Wicked Weed Funkatorium. They mostly have like ciders and stuff like that on like tap, but their food menu, they have a cornbread. It's to die for.
What about corn pudding? Do you fuck with corn pudding?
I fuck with corn pudding.
Oh, I love corn pudding. Do you like corn pudding?
Yeah, I like corn pudding, but I like tapioca better.
I love
corn pudding is not even in the same category.
Not the same
If
realm.
I have to pick like a pudding that is like a bread pudding or a tapioca pudding,
But
it's more like it's
corn
tapioca.
pudding really like
If I had to pick a pudding, I'm picking rice pudding.
Oh, that's good too.
Yes. Give me
Tapioca
some.
is
Give me some of that arroz con leche.
Oh my god.
You're like getting off on fucking rice pudding right now?
I was like, this may be a little bit my fault because I begged Michaela to try this tres leches cake from this Colombian restaurant on Spring Forest, and I begged her to try this tres leches, and she was like, I don't like it. I don't understand why it needs to be soaked in milk. And I was like, it's not really milk. It's like sweet condensed milk. It's like, it's so sugary. It's creamer at that point. You know what I mean? And she was like, I don't know, like I don't think I'm gonna like it. It's literally 3 milks. I don't really like milk like that. And I was like, it's cake. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. And then she tried it and she goes, I knew I wasn't gonna like this. It's wet and it's too milky. And I said, well, in all fairness, it is 3 milks.
You're a diva for that. That's her. It's 3 milk. I don't want it. And then she says, I told you I wouldn't like it. And you said, well, it's 3 milks. Why would you think you'd like it? Like that's manipulative, bitch.
She's seeing both sides of the conversation.
Okay.
The one where she's right and the one where she's right.
Let's say that's the negative side of the Libra signs is we don't
No,
mean
because I begged her to try it and she's like, I don't think I'm gonna like it. It's literally called 3 milks. And as I was eating it, I was like, well, I'll get somewhere like it's not at the bottom, so I'll just get off the top, so it's just icing and cake, and it's not like at the bottom where it's really soaked in the milk. So that's basically like dos leches. And she was like, whatever. And she tried it and she goes, it's too milky. And I said, well, duh, it's too milky. It's trust leche.
I should start gaslighting people more too.
No.
It's fun. But like playfully, but it's okay when it's playful.
No.
Michaela, it was that funny.
Well, anyway.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about your story or why you feel the way you do about your heritage/identity?
I hate weebs.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about you hating weebs.
No, that's what I've missed is stop fetishizing Asian people. And if you're like, I don't fetishize Asian people, I just am white and I really, really appreciate the culture and you're like a white man who like has only dated Asian women or like only wants to date Asian women, and you're saying that you don't fetishize Asian women, show me your porn history. And if there's no Asian women or no hentai in it, then I maybe will accept the fact that you're not fetishizing Asian women. But if not, you need to check yourself. And that's all I'll say.
Yeah, and if you're gonna be a fetishist, at least come by honestly.
No, because I'm tired of
fucking
Asian
real.
women being fetishized. I
agree.
Asian
Stop
and
it.
I'm still fetishized.
Stop it. But also, like, I just hate a fake ass bitch.
Yeah, and don't be fake about it. You know what? There's like a car in our apartment complex that has like full like one of those like Subaru WRXs that has the hentai stickers on it. You know exactly.
what you're saying.
But at least I know to stay away.
That part, yeah.
If you're a Nazi, at least label yourself a Nazi. You know what I mean? Like then we know. Oh, right. Huh?
They're starting to.
That's true. They are starting to label themselves. We
Oh my
don't.
God, wait a minute.
Huh?
You're not on my Snapchat list.
Oh yeah.
You didn't see
The
see
fucking
this.
ham and yam.
So we went to the ham and yam, okay? And so like we're
we
like,
went to the ham and yam.
oh my God, shut up. Anyway,
Well, you said that very Midwestern.
so we went to the ham and yam, okay? And so we go uptown, and first off, it's like in an L, like kind of like a U, but then there's like a little like offset. So we come up this way on Second Street, right? And this is like where literally they let all the minorities be, okay? Because this is like where the queer people were. This is where the black people were. You keep walking like half a block, and this is where the first Republican Party booth is, okay? And then we keep going, and we're like, okay, we go to the right, and like we're like getting food or whatever. And I look over because I like they're waiting for their food. I just meandered, okay? And I walk around, and immediately there's like 3 old people standing at a Confederate flag store. Like it's a whole booth that just basically has Confederate flag shit. And I'm like, and like
Cherokee?
have I been what?
Have you been to Cherokee, North Carolina?
No.
It's like insane how many stores you're like, oh, let's like buy something indigenous, and all the stores are owned by white people with Confederate flags everywhere. In Cherokee.
Are we shocked? Are we shocked?
I was when I went there, but I guess I'm not really shocked. It's just
Real fast.
like a couple of places that you could get like actual indigenous items made by indigenous people. Like 2 stores. And one of them was part of the cultural center.
That was also another thing. There was somebody that had, I don't think you saw it because I think I walked past it and we ended up not going around it. There was like beading work or something like that, and then like, but it was a clearly white person, and like that happened at the Festival of Legends too.
I was thoroughly uncomfortable the entire time. To be fair, I did dress very much like a bottom in my short shorts and my tight shirt with a choker on, and I wondered why anybody looked at me, but alas.
See, I felt like not uncomfortable, it's just like disappointed. Like I was fully disappointed. Like not only like from from that standpoint of like, why are we going to have so many, like, obviously, like, fine, if you want to have a Republican booth, that's fine. Like, Republican
because they
Party,
had a
that's fine.
Democrat Party too.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that one. If you have that,
Yeah,
that's
but like
but
Confederate
Confederate flag thing.
we believe in a failed secession.
Oh, here, let's sell literal terrorist flags. Sounds like a great idea. No, I got disappointed with that, but then also from a vendor, like from an event standpoint of like, not only have I been a vendor, but then now we're having all these vendor events and stuff like that. And it's like, why do we have 4 crochet artists that have the same stuff? Like, yeah, they were a little bit different, but like, why do we have 4 crochet artists that have
Anti-competition is good in a vendor market. Like you should give every crochet artist a chance at separate events because you're just from their money if you
Yeah.
have 4 crochet artists.
Yeah, like it makes sense if you have like one does hats and one does plushies and one does like skirts or
we
something like
I know that.
Tia and Bree, one does hats, does
Yeah.
plushies. 2 different things.
But then we had like, and this didn't happen at this one, but like the Festival of Legends that has like hundreds of vendors. What? Tell me why there were 6 people, 6 booths, all close to each other. Like turn around, you can see them all that had 3D printed dragons that you could just get the design offline for free.
At that point, it's just like the people who invest in like you either invest in a 3D printer and print off like prints that everybody has, or you invest in like a freeze dry machine and you just freeze candy and sell freeze dried candy.
They had those at Ham and Yam.
Not that I want anyone coming for our gig, but like as an event planner, vendor market is one of the best, easiest, fastest ways to make money. And it's so clear when you can tell that they're only in it to make the money. And like the Ham and Yam is one of those examples. I feel like they probably don't give a fuck. They just look like, oh, this booth, it's okay, cool.
Like the first.
Yeah, we're just gonna collect the vendor booth fees and not care how it actually turns out in practice.
Which is crazy because I feel like, I mean, I guess for the Ham and Yam, they can do that because it's like they're on their like 30th year or some shit. I don't know. It's been a long time. So like they're like, well, people are going to come no matter what. But like, especially for us where it's like, we're just getting started. We don't want to have vendors hate the event and not want to come back. We don't want to have people show up and be like, well, there was only like, I know there were 7 vendors, but there was only like 2 things we could actually buy. Like, we wouldn't want that.
Yeah, not.
No, you know it's never like that. The Art in Autumn Festival in Weaverville, North Carolina. There's always several different. There's like 30 different artists, and every single artist is like completely different. You've got an earring girl, a crochet girl. You've got one man that makes like planes and cars out of aluminum cans.
You said it's Weaverville?
I don't think Weaverville would love us, Rebecca.
Yeah, but I could still go.
Weaverville,
I pass
that's
enough.
my hometown. Go easy on my hometown.
Look up, that's 4.5 hours away. I'm not going to that event.
Look up the Yellow Mug Cafe in Weaverville, North Carolina. Look up the Yellow Mug Cafe in Weaverville, North Carolina.
Stop trying to touch it with your mouth.
Weaverville's own gay coffee shop. Name all the gay coffee shops in Raleigh that are actual gay coffee shops that have a huge pride flag in the window.
That fucking Per Cup Cafe.
Wait,
can we also talk about why are they?
Is Sir Raleigh Coffee?
Why is she being like that?
Because you had the microphone.
Oh,
is
really?
Sir Raleigh Coffee? Is that one?
It's not Sir Raleigh, bitch. It's Sir Walter.
Okay, well, fuck it.
And
it's Sir Walter Raleigh.
Yeah.
Well, Sir Walter Raleigh, was he not a colonizer?
Yeah, but I mean, it's the coffee place.
Are they that gay?
I think it cancels out. I think if they were gay, it cancels out because he's a colonizer.
Because why are you naming it like Christopher Columbus Coffee Shop? What are we doing?
I mean, valid. But that one's more obvious. I didn't know who Sir Walter Raleigh was, other than the fact that Raleigh was named after him.
We'll just wait till I open
if a capital city's named after him.
I'm not telling the viewers right now.
Will it be Koee's Cups spelled with both K's?
It'll be actually called Koee's Jugs. And it'll just be a big ass picture of titties. And each one will be filled with a latte. One will be green for matcha and the other one will be coffee. Yeah, it'll be Koee's Cups actually, but it'll be 2 C's because I'll change my name for this one thing because I want the C's to be the titties. Are you seeing the vision?
I don't like this.
This is what you
went to Jubala today, Jubala, whatever the fuck it's called, and I got my Earl Grey tea with honey and steamed milk. It's $4.87 for a whole pot of Earl Grey tea and a little cup of steamed milk and a little cup of honey.
That's nice.
$4.87.
You know what though? It's way cheaper than that whenever I make it in my own house.
I thought that's where you were going with that.
No, I mean I have cream Earl Grey, Fraser.
Though.
You know exactly what cream Earl Grey I have in my house.
I don't.
Well, Koee does.
I've never been
She's
to your
a thief.
house. I've only dropped you off outside.
She's a thief and she used to have a job and she's a thief.
Yeah, well, I put my 2 weeks notice in, and I grabbed a box of tea on my way out. Don't tell them what else I grabbed, but
Box of
as far as you know, a
tea,
box of tea.
10 pumps of syrup, half
What
the
flavor?
espresso machine,
What flavor?
I have the espresso machine. You're crazy. What?
What flavor
the
syrup?
roaches.
I got. You brought the roaches.
No, I did not bring them.
I thought you were the roach.
It just remembered me from childhood.
Okay. I got a blackberry syrup and a honey syrup and a vanilla syrup and a turmeric syrup.
Lavender? Did you get lavender?
They didn't have lavender back then.
Anyway, Megan, thank you so much for joining us. Even though you would join us for most of the interviews, we enjoy chatting with you about you.
Thank
And
you.
about a lot of things that really had nothing to do with you, but
It was still her opinion on things. Her asterisks.
her ass.
There's only so much I can say about being an Asian American woman, and most of it is that like people are racist, people are fetishizing.
And no, here's the actual tea. The actual tea is viewers, viewers, viewers. There's a lot more interesting things about your.
There's a lot more interesting things about me
About your
other than my labels.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot more interesting things about your minority friends other than their minority labels. That's what I was trying to say, but I forgot the word minority and I almost said millennial because I have like 2 brain cells at this
There
point.
is not much more interesting things about your millennial friends other than that.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Don't frown like that. Okay, Florence Pugh.
Stop. You look like one of those grandmas in my hometown with no teeth, girl. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. That was too far. That was too far.
Wait, Rebecca, I meant to say when you did the Midwestern accent thing, have you ever seen the animated movie Rio about the birds?
Yeah.
Then you know the main character and how she always says cheese and crackers? It's
Yeah.
low-key you.
Was that your Midwestern accent? Because that was awful. That was horrendous, actually. Never did Rebecca say.
I don't remember ham and yam.
Oh,
Yum.
the ham and yum. The ham and yum.
It was just a ham and
Mhm.
yam.
There's a
That-
Midwestern woman on the newest season of Survivor, and when they introduced her, she was like, Jeff was like, "So, Chrissy, like, tell us about yourself."
Chrissy,
She goes,
wake up.
She goes, "Jeff, I'm just so excited to be here. I remember when season 1 of Survivor aired, and you stood out here with your arms wide open." And
Why is she Irish? No.
I never said my Midwestern accent is good, but you can look up Chrissy on Survivor intro, and she said arms for sure.
What?
She absolutely said arms.
Okay, your MacBook is dying.
Okay, I'm dying. The computer's dying.
And I want to go home.
We're all
This
dead.
has been the Queer Vision Pod featuring Megan. Check us out, Queer Vision, Queerlina.org at Instagram and queerlina.org. Read the Queer Vision mag. Check out Nasty Queer, which Koee does. Go to a queer event at queerlina.org. Check us out. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Queer Vision podcast. This episode was so fun to make. It honestly just felt like we were chatting with friends because we were. This is the whole point of why we do what we do. We just want to get to know everybody and to share everybody's stories because everybody has a different story and we love to hear it. So, please subscribe, share, and go check out Megan's article in the May issue of the Queer Vision magazine. It is a subscription, but it's worth it. It's as low as $5 a month. Come on, let's go. Thank you again so much for your support, for your love. And if you want to get involved, if you want to be interviewed, or if you'd like anything in the magazine, just go to our website. We have a contact form right there. Okay? Bye. Have a good day.